The author studio interview with Yanik Silver. Now, if you ever watched Inside the Actor Studio on Bravo with James Lipton, you're familiar with our format. We jump right into some questions that pull back the curtain on the writing process. Was there a dark night of the soul? And what prompted the book? And what are the hopes and dreams of the book? And what's the most rewarding aspect of the book? And because we are interviewing Yanik Silver tonight, we're also going to be talking about how he has diversified his writing. Yanik, as you're about to discover, believes in getting a lot done and having a lot of fun. In fact, some of the things you may already know about Yanik is that, let's see, what do Tim Ferris, 4-Hour Workweek guy, and Tony Hawk, the skateboarding legend, and Sarah Blankley, the founder of Spanx, and Sir Richard Branson all have in common? They have in common Yanik Silver, because they've all gone on cause-centered, give forward, not give back, give forward adventures. You'll hear a little bit about that in our interview tonight. And in addition to authoring Maverick Startup, an evolved enterprise in the Cosmic Journal, Yanik is also the founder of Maverick. And what is Maverick? It is a gathering of some of the top entrepreneurs and visionaries in the world. And they, once again, go on cause-centered adventures and go to summer camp. You'll probably hear about that tonight. Here's something you may not know about Yanik, and he doesn't know I'm going to say this, is that he has mentored so many young people, young startups, young entrepreneurs, and has given them the support to realize their dreams. And I'm speaking from experience, because years ago, my son, Andrew Horn, had an opportunity to go to a meeting of Summit. It's a wonderful young group of entrepreneurs. And Andrew was really intimidated, because he walks into a room and there's President Clinton. He walks into another room and there's Tony Hsieh of Zappos. And he walks into another room and here are all these incredibly famous, well-known entrepreneurs. And so he kind of checks out. He goes and he stands upstairs and he's looking out over all these people networking, and he's having a beer, and he just is lucky enough to be standing next to a guy who's having a beer too. So elbow to elbow, overlooking the crowd, they start this conversation. And Andrew is talking to this man, and he talks about his interest in hockey. And he really does love to play hockey. And he loved it when the Washington team won the Stanley Cup. And bonding over their mutual interest of hockey, this individual asked Andrew what he did. And Andrew said that he ran this nonprofit called Dreams for Kids. And the goal of Dreams for Kids was to help kids with disabilities get off the sidelines and into the games of life. I mean, they actually got to go to the arena and play with some of the cap players and so forth. Well, the light went on in Yanik's eyes, and he found out that Dreams for Kids was on the verge of going out of business because they had run out of money. Well, thanks to Yanik Silver, I'm going to get emotional. He saw a cause and a group of people and a young entrepreneur and a nonprofit leader that deserved to be supported. So who stepped up? Yanik Silver stepped up. And because he did, Dreams for Kids is still serving thousands of families in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Maryland, Virginia area, because this man sees what deserves to get done and he makes it happen. So would you please unmute yourself right now? Give this man a round of applause, if you would please. Yay, Yanik Silver. Unmute yourself right now. Give this man a round of applause.
Yeah, it's so fascinating how these little moments become these catalyzing ripples, and you've had one of those in my life as well. So we'll talk about that as we get there. So it all comes back full circle 100 times over.
Yanik, see, I already knew a minute into our interview that you would pinpoint something that is a message we want authors at all stages of their careers to understand, is that when you do the right thing, when you invest yourself in writing a quality book, when you pour your heart and your soul and your passion and your experience and your expertise and your best practices, it really does create full circle connections, doesn't it? I mean, a year from now, 5 years from now, people may get back in touch and bring us in to
Yeah.
speak. Or is that your experience, Yannick?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I just have such a reverence for books. Every time we move, we build new floor to ceiling bookshelves, and it's like to me, books are my best friends. And so I always, I guess maybe I actually found my 15-year-old journal at my parents' house. And I found like there's a page in there that says, it'd be interesting if I was a writer or something like that. So there's a little seed way, way, way back.
Well, isn't that something? And by the way, Yannick, one of the ways we thank our guest is that Kendra Ray, who handles is our project manager for Inside the Author Studio, she listens for those hook, line, and thinkers. And then she creates a little quote image and gives it to you as a
Mm,
gift. So I think books are my best friends is already in the running, right, Kendra?
that
So, all right. Well, let's
that
start with the formal questions. Is
hook
that
hook
Dan?
lines and thinkers. That's a tung fu action. Hook.
Yeah, hook, line,
That's
and
a good one.
sinkers. And we've talked to our, I love it. It's like, well, see, as you're about to find out, Yannick comes up with some good airtight sound bites, hook, line, and thinkers, retweetable memes, etc. himself. So have your pens ready, folks. So, all right, first official question is Dan Pointer said, if you wait to
Okay.
write, you're not a writer, you're a waiter. So go back to the very beginning. And what prompted you to write? What was it that just decided people are asking for this? I'm going to do it, or I want to get this message out there. It deserves to be championed. What catalyzed you to start writing?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of semi different books, and the very first one that was published was called Moonlighting on the Internet, and that was really just it came to me through Entrepreneur Press kind of asked me to do it, so it was more of a push because of I had already started building a pretty good fan base, and a pretty good sort of success platform of teaching what I was doing, which was helping other people take their information or content and sell it online. So they approached me and said, "Hey, would you want to do this?" So they saw the demand, and then I came up with the concept and the hook for it, and that was the first one. So that was really kind of pushed on me. But before that, I had a lot of other what could be considered books, but they weren't really books. They were like three ring binders that were big, big things, and they were I don't know, a lot of other formats and so forth, but never a book until that one.
Well, how about evolved enterprise? It's like, I know you're a man on a mission about people
Yeah.
starting evolved enterprise, but once again, there was something that was the nudge that kickstarted
Yeah.
that book.
Yeah, so that one, Evolved Enterprise. That was a really hard one because so moonlighting on the internet was an easy one. I took like old transcripts and things like that, had someone edit it for me. I reviewed it, and then that was quick. The next one was Maverick Startup, was similar. It was very quick. This one was painful. This was the one that I really felt like I put my full heart and soul into it, and this came out of a need that I saw for business to kind of the old way of doing business wasn't working, and that was your son Andrew really believes in this as well, and that was part of our conversation about how business can make a greater difference in the world, and that was what he's done with Tribute as well, and so I saw the need, and it also came from being able to go on these amazing adventures and trips with the Maverick Group and get little pieces, like almost like little puzzle pieces that then I could pull together and be like, oh yeah, okay, Richard Branson does this, and then Tony Hsieh does this, and then all these other unknown people, do these things, and then it became a format or a platform for something called Evolved Enterprise, and it really felt like I'd be doing a disservice if it would be a really quick sort of, all right, let me just edit some transcripts of some speeches or other things like that, and I'm like, okay, I'm committed to doing this, and I started writing and writing, and it was. I start with outlines. I love mind maps. So the mind maps, especially for nonfiction books, they're very easy to outline like that via mind map. And then it's very almost like Lego block. So you can move them around and say, okay, here's what it is. And so I'd be writing and adding examples and but it was the longest process I've ever had for a book. Altogether, is probably about a year and a half all in because I didn't feel like it was truly doing what it was meant to be doing. And it was actually really fascinating, Sam, I was kind of, like when you're trying to put out something that's really important to you, a lot of times this notion of, I don't know, self-doubt creeps up. You have other things like resistance show up. You have a lot of things about, like, all right, well, who am I to put this thing out there about, kind of this new concept of business or whatever the case is. And so I had one of my friends and I were talking about it. He's like, all right, dude, you need a deadline. I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. Give me a deadline. And so we talked about it and I came up with the deadline of, like, I think March 31st. I can't remember which year now. And he's like, all right, I'll check in on you, like, a week before or whatever. And it was literally a day before. I was committed. I was writing. I was done for the most part. But I'm like, oh, there's something missing. It's not quite my true full heart and soul. And I'm like, I know what I'm missing. I'm missing doodles. And literally, I was like 5 o'clock in the morning, adding doodles and adding my own drawings. And when I added that, it really changed, like, the look and feel of the book. And so you can see, like, there's a couple of my own pictures in there. And then even, like, illustrating some of the concepts were my own drawings and so forth. I don't know if I got any other examples in here. Here's the Maverick Green Speedo. But so you can see, like, that gave it its own character. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, that feels really, really good.
You've just brought up so many things that are important. It's one, if there's not a date on the calendar, it's not getting done, right? So the date on the calendar, and anyone who has you use the word, the book has its own character, and you felt that something was missing, and it was that personal touch that was unique to you, right? It's if you've ever been around Yannick,
Right.
he believes in ink it when you think it. However, he doesn't just ink it when you think it. He doesn't just take notes. He's going like this. He's going like this. So doodling and visual representation of concepts just lights you up, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I love that, and yeah, you see me in the meetings, and I have a bunch of pens. They're always the colored pens, and they turn into something. It's actually my journal that is the fodder for all this. That was the fodder for Evolved Enterprise. So I do my thinking in my journal,
Yeah.
and of course, where it brings more awareness and so forth. But the concepts and the framework for Evolved Enterprise came out of my journal, and then onto the pages of the book.
Yeah. In fact, a question about this, because so part of your process is ink it when you think it and draw it when it occurs to you and make it visual and doodle. How, though, you're running a full-time business, you've got a family. Did you write first thing in the morning? Did you take a sabbatical and go away in private and write for a while? What writing process works for you?
I wish I took a sabbatical. I like the way, Wayne Dyer would talk about he would go off to Maui and go write. And I was like, that sounds like a great idea. No, I would typically write late at night.
Hmm.
And it was just, inspired or not inspired, I always wanted to get I didn't have a particular word count that I needed, but I wanted to see progress. I like momentum. That really helps me feel like I'm making progress on it. Also, by having it very modular, it was easy to be like, okay, which section am I most excited by right now? Let me go right into that right now. And then also not getting, if you have your internet obviously always on your computer, it becomes a distraction. And so I would turn off everything else, but I'd be like, oh, I want to find this example for this thing. And I'd really have to stop myself from, like, being in creation mode versus research mode. And then, like, a lot of times I find writers, and so I started as a copywriter. So to me, writing was, always natural from that point. And I like also writing books with the concepts of headlines and hooks and positioning and so forth. And then editing is a huge part of copywriting. And most people don't know that is, it counts for good writing in a huge way, is that, an edited work. And so with an ad, you only had a certain amount of words, really, and you'd have to go back and polish and polish and polish. And a lot of times, if you try and edit at the same time as you're writing, then you're using this creative side that sits on this side, and then you're using your little inner critic side to be like, oh, no, you need a period here, or you need this, you can't do that, or whatever it is, and they just fight against each other. So it was really important for me as I was writing to make sure that there was a focus on what I was doing. Like, okay, let's just get out everything about this concept, and then go back and edit or research.
You have just articulated, I think, one of the biggest epiphanies that most authors at Maui Writers Conference talked about is that, there's the critical brain and the creative brain, and never the twain shall meet. And
Yeah,
if you're in the creative brain and
exactly.
here come the judge, there goes the voice, right? Because you start second guessing everything, right? Hmm. Yeah.
And you can't add that same level of passion and the same level of just excitement that you can have when you're just writing with intensity and not also worrying about spell check and all sorts of stuff. I actually if I knew better I would have turned off spell check because that would be even better because then you get that little squiggly thing, right, and it's like, oh no, I misspelled whatever, and then you have to go back, and it just slightly takes you out of that spot.
And now this circles back to you use the word momentum and how much you love momentum. And it really is about writing without second guessing, correct? The forward
Yeah.
pace, the producing pages. And when you get in that state of flow, that's when the voice comes out to play because it's not being judged every other minute. Like, did I spell that right?
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also interesting, Sam. So this book, I didn't have a publisher for this one. I was just like, I'm gonna put it out myself, and I had almost like a version one, and I don't have a copy of the version one, but I wanted to get it out and get it out in a big way in the world, and we did something pretty different in the way we launched it. But it was version one, and I didn't even know it was gonna be version one. It was a paperback one, and then so we got some great blurbs for it and so forth. I'm trying to see. You might have even blurbed this one. I can't remember if you blurbed this one or not. But then like the person that I really wanted to give the forward for it was Richard Branson, and so I remember I handed him the book originally, and he's kind of like wavering and not not it was a very interesting interaction. We bring a group there every year for the last 11 years, and it wasn't the reaction that I was expecting. And I had built up this attachment to it. Like this book would be good only if we have this endorsement. And then it really made me realize that that wasn't the case. And especially in my journal, I was like, all right, do I feel like I put my full heart and soul into this thing? And I'm like, yeah, I did. And so it doesn't even matter what happened. And then I let go of that attachment. And then I'm like, okay, but I feel like I could do a little bit better because there's some stories I wanted to add and some things. And then so it turned into version two as a hardcover. And literally, I think like 2 or 3 days before it went to print, I got a blurb from Richard, and I'm like, all right, that's how it works. You
Oh,
remove that attachment.
the Zen Buddhist approach to book
Yeah,
writing, right? Let it go,
yeah,
let it go,
exactly.
let it go.
And not being so attached to, yeah, exactly. And it was really really cute. So my cousin, who I love dearly, she's my business partner in Maverick. She had actually gone out of her way to nudge Richard, and she's like, I thought I was just going to make it a surprise, but you really, you care so much about aesthetics and so forth. So I had to make sure that you approve the way that it looked on the cover and so forth.
Yeah.
So her idea was like that I was going to get the crate of books, and then all of a sudden I opened it up, and there was going to be the blurb from Richard on there.
Well, and that brings up another question because you just talked about how version one, and you didn't know that there was going to be a version two, and that kind of evolved from circumstances. And I tell you, today authors are just, you have to storyboard, you have to work with an outline, you have to do this. And so, what was the best piece of advice someone gave you that really resonated and that played a big role in the success of your books?
Well, I think it was just really feeling into it, like just truly, writing and wanting to put out this message because you had to do it. And it wasn't because you saw a market for it, or it was because of an analysis or something like that. And so that really made a huge difference. And that was the way the Cosmic Journal was born, was out of just serendipitous curiosity and passion. And that's really a fun story, and I can share that one if you like.
Yeah, especially because you have a foot in both worlds, Yannick, is that you are talking about pouring your heart and soul and passion into the book, and you're also a businessman, a very good strategic thinker.
Yeah.
And will there be a commercial need for this, and how am I going to market it? So talk us through the Cosmic Journal And what helped you decide that something that you love to do, there was actually market viability for that in a book that would sell?
Yeah, well, that I didn't know for sure there'd be a book that could sell. Actually, before there, I wanted to maybe go back to the way we launched Evolved Enterprise because it could be interesting
Yep.
for some people, which is the business side that you mentioned, which is because it's all about how does business make a greater impact. I'm like, okay, well, let's not do a regular launch. Let's where everyone's like, oh, we're gonna I don't know, use whatever marketing strategy. But this was like, okay, let's. So one of the charities that I've supported for a long time is called Village Enterprise, and they work with teaching micro enterprise. So they teach micro entrepreneurs how to build businesses, mostly in East Africa. And I'm like, okay, it'd be really fun to build an entire village of complementary businesses. And they said, okay, well, that's about $25,000, and so let's do that. So that was our goal, was to raise enough on the book launch and kind of attach it to this idea of if we sold enough books that we would create this entire village of micro enterprises. And so that was the way that we launched it. That's the way we framed everything, and it was very transparent. I showed like how much it cost to print it, how much it cost to ship it. So it was using all the principles of Evolved Enterprise, and I'm really pleased to say that we did build that entire village. But I'm even more pleased to say that a couple other authors and other marketers saw that and they're like, oh, this is really cool. And then they built other villages using that launch strategy. So I love that ripple effect. And so you can use, just really anything that's on your heart for the marketing and the launch of it. And that got out, I think, like the first maybe 11,000 copies of the book. So that was like, just like that, got it out there. And then version two was like coming out of what do we do with this thing? So you had asked about the Cosmic Journal. So that is, truly just following where's your bliss and where's, your interest. And I saw this challenge going on online where it's like 100 days of an art challenge. You would commit to creating some sort of art for 100 days. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a lot of days. I travel around a lot. And what would that look like? But in my journal, I'm like, oh, well, what would that be like? And so I committed to it, but I committed to 108 days. In the wisdom traditions, it's more powerful. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this no matter what. So at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, I would actually, I have it on my shelf, but it's a black moleskin journal that I originally just put little a check box, and every single day I would check it off, and the pages look like that, where every single day through me would come through me, or I would take years of journals and pull out stuff because I love journaling. I love teaching about journaling. I also love the doodles like you talked about, and they started coming out more and more. And I'm like, oh, this would be really, really fun to do. And then after about day 50 or 60, I started using it like an oracle. I would just pop it open and be like, oh, this is, what's my message? And then, but every day I'd continue doing it. And, you keep those commitments, the momentum, and it's really powerful. But there was no, oh, I'm going to publish this. I'm going to create an entire brand around it. It was just like, let's just play around with it and see what happens. And it's just purely joyful. And then one of my friends saw the moleskin. I showed it to him at a breakfast. He's like, "Oh my God, you light up about this thing. You saw the original moleskin, the
Yeah.
black moleskin."
Yeah.
I brought it to one of our TLC meetings, and I just loved it so much. I'm like, "Here, check this out." And one of my friends was like, "Okay, I'm going to pay to publish 888 copies of this, which is a vegan leather version that I really wanted." And so that was the first little initial little piece. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't even know what this is because there was no rhyme or reason to the pages. It was like, so I had to actually it was the most wild editing, most wild creation I've ever done because I had someone scan in all the pages. They were little 2 inch by 2 inch squares. I don't have them here, but they were little 2 inch by 2 inch squares, like little thumbnails. And then I put it on my kitchen island, and I'd be like, okay, what is the order? How does this make sense? And then I had to create left-hand prompt pages because the original one was just for me. It wasn't for anyone else. It's like, okay, if I want other people to use this thing, so then there'd be prompt pages like this on there to help people. And then so I had to create that order, and then we had them printed and put it out there. And then one of my friends, I had just this like intuitive hit to have a breakfast meeting with Reed Tracy from Hay House, and you really helped me there. Really just strategically like thinking about how to put this together, and what would it look like. And I had a breakfast meeting, and I brought him the little manuscript thing, and I'm like, Reed, okay, And I didn't present it in a regular way. I'm like, here, you have to, here, take a breath and now open a page. And he opened it up and he's like, and he read it. And then he opened another page. He's like, all right, I've never seen anything like this. And like, they immediately basically fast forwarded a contract, and for a contract for a set of Oracle cards. And so those are out. And then the Cosmic Journal. So that's, you helped birth that, Sam. So I so appreciate it.
Yeah, Yannick, you are a walking, talking role model of evolved enterprise. And part of it is that something lights you up, something you love, you do it, and then you iterate. It's like, oh, well, I need to do this. Oh, well, that's not working. I'm going to try this. And so, what a wonderful example of how Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to take the first step, right?
Yeah. That is, I love that, and that's actually a perfect. So we have a page in here that really represents that concept, which is one of my favorites, and it's a great example of just following your intuition. Let me find it, and I'll get everyone a copy of the picture actually if you want to send it out. But this is what it looks like.
Oh, good. Oh, and talk us
So
through this now so we understand what we're seeing.
yeah. All right. So this is a labyrinth. And if anyone's ever walked the labyrinth, it's a really beautiful way of just quieting your mind and connecting. And you can use it in a lot of different ways. So this was going to be my drawing. So every day I had a drawing that I was going to do in a page. So this page was this idea of, it says, you do not need to, you don't need to see the full path, just the next step, dot, dot, dot. And that's where I was going to leave it originally. And I spent all this time drawing the labyrinth and so forth. And, I'm sure it's at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, okay, I could just leave it here. Or I could trust my intuition and I could start continuing on and seeing what happens. So then it says, and the next one will open to you. Each step moves you closer to your center, even if you feel like you're upside down and turned around. And if you see that, it's actually where it's upside down and turned around, which is over here. So
Wow.
it just started like coming around there, and it says maybe you feel like you're walking in circles, further away from your goal. So that's all the way up at the top now, further
Yeah.
away from your goal, which is at the center. It says keep moving, keep going, one step forward, one step onwards until you see the next turn, which is on a turn right here.
Wow.
And then it says the next twist in the road. The closer you get, you will be tested at the threshold. It's all within sight until you shift again. This time you come home again to yourself fully. And so that's in the middle. So, that whole notion of truly the next step appears when you take the next step. And this was like a really good example for me to just trust that intuition of, I could have quote unquote ruined that picture or that page, but I'm just like, all right, let's see what happens out of it. And now, you know what I created out of it, Sam? I created a neon piece of artwork out of that labyrinth, and that's hanging on one of my walls, and we'll sell that because I've had a lot of great comments about it, and maybe turn it into an NFT. Who the heck knows? But it's but it was a great illustration of that.
You use the word, let me write it down. Oh, modular. And it's like linear is on the left. And it just seems that one of the things you shine at is bringing great enthusiasm and then paying attention to the dots that you're collecting and then connecting them in a new way, right? It's, oh, I think I'll do a
Mhm.
journal. Oh, I think I'll do some cards. Oh, I think I'll go on this adventure and I'll invite these people to go with me. Oh, I think I'll launch my book by building a village. So a question, because we want to leave 10 minutes for people to ask questions from our group. I hope you're
Okay.
putting it in chat that you have a question you want to ask or comment. So let me tee you up with one last question and we'll turn it over to the group. This is right in alignment with what you were saying. Is E.L. Doctorow was asked what it was like writing a book. And he said, it's kind of like driving a car at night. You can only see to the end of your headlights, but you can make the whole trip that way. And if you were going to say, the next best step, if you want to get a quality book out in the world, is to do this. What's your headlight advice?
Hmm. it's I, I think it's just writing. So I write almost every day in my journal, and what I start writing at the top is usually not what I finish with, and it's so fascinating to see where it takes me, and that writing is the thinking process. It's just like what wants to come through you, and that's the other thing. As I've gotten quieter, as I have a meditation practice now for the last 7 8 years, maybe longer. My writing has changed. Like I think of myself more as that vessel of like what wants to come through you, and allowing that to happen. And then I'll leave you with one other interesting tidbit to try, which is if you're right-handed, use your left hand when you need some insights, and see what comes forth. So a lot of the journal pages were actually created using my non-dominant hand, and you get some really deep insights that way, through some certain prompts or different things to see what happens that way.
Mm. What a great suggestion. Thanks, Yannick. So, okay, who from our group? Kendra, you want to select someone who's got a great comment question in our chat?
Nobody put anything in chat yet. I
Okay.
think they're all just mesmerized. So if anybody wants to just unmute, maybe someone could unmute and ask a question.
I'll ask.
Unmute. Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Yanik. I'm inspired by how you have done so many projects and done it well as a business owner, because I think sometimes they say about entrepreneurship, focus on one thing, but it sounds like all these things are an expression of you. And I was curious a little bit about the decision to publish the journal and present it as a journal versus a book. Did you receive pushback or feedback from anyone on that? And if so, what was your conviction on it?
I always, so I just follow what I'm interested and passionate about, and love, and I love journaling. And so it was never even, I wouldn't entertain it as a book. I wanted it to be a living, interesting document for everyone else to, like this, almost like a way that they could create their own mythology. So actually, when I hand it to someone, I say, this is the Galactic instruction manual you were missing when you were born to fulfill your destiny here. And I tell them to use it like an oracle. But also when I was creating that, the framework for it, when I had the little 2 inch by 2 inch squares, there was a real arc to it. So I had to look at it from both directions of, okay, it could be literally page by page, but a full arc. But I love the synchronicity and magic of what that allows beyond the book, and then also for someone else to add in their own insights and keep coming back to it. So this is my version that I have. And then if you can see, sometimes, when I land on a page, there's multiple times that I will answer based on what I wrote from before. And then that becomes another interesting sort of living document. So yeah, it was always about the journal. I love the journal. And what was fascinating about it, I've never had this editing process because everything's handwritten. So literally my editor's like, well, you need to get rid of this sentence here, or this, change this here, or, we can't use this drawing, it's copyrighted or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'd have to redraw, and I have to rewrite entire pages. It was fascinating.
Well, talk about great language. You didn't say it was challenging. You said it was fascinating. I think it's a big key to how you roll, Yanik. So someone else want to make a comment, and it can be about writing or books. It could also be about his adventures, his cost-centered, give forward adventures to Necker Island, or don't you have one coming up to the Antarctic?
We are going to Antarctica Saturday, yeah, for ocean conservation, and
Saturday.
60 entrepreneurs with us. So that should be pretty amazing. I've wanted to go to Antarctica for a long time.
There you go. Good. Who next?
Mason
Got
is
my
next.
penguin puppet ready to go.
Mason,
Mason, you want to go ahead?
Oh, sure. Yeah, Yanik, this is really a pleasure. My first
Sorry.
question is, which of your books should I read first? Because I definitely will. And second, what's your favorite coffee spot in Potomac?
Yeah. So I've stopped drinking coffee for the most part. I've taken a cacao apprentice program. So now I have ceremonial cacao a lot. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't really go to coffee spots in Potomac. My favorite spot in Potomac is the Potomac River where I go paddleboarding. So that's really fun.
I know it.
And as far as like which book to read first, if you about business and entrepreneurship, Evolved Enterprise for sure. But the most fun, the one that I always love the most for sure is the Cosmic Journal, and that's not even a read; it's a experience. I hope that you can keep coming back
Thank
to
you.
over and over again.
Someone else have
Yeah,
a
thanks for
comment,
that question.
question, something you want to bring up?
Yeah, I just want to know how long it took you to get your non-dominant hand not to look crappy like I was just trying on my thing. It's not even legible.
But it's
And by the way,
fun, and it's a great way of it connects your entire brain, and you get some really great insights that way. But you get better at it. It's just like think back to I don't know kindergarten or whatever when you were first learning how to write, because you have to then go the opposite way when you're making an E or something. You're like, oh, it goes this way now, not this way, and but it's you can do it for sure. I have faith in you.
plus she's a
Agree.
piano teacher, so using both hands and being ambidextrous comes naturally,
Yeah.
right? So
It was hard enough to get the left hand to do the chord voicings I wanted. Writing left-handed. I don't know though. Once you get ideas flowing though, then I'd have to switch to right hand because they come too fast.
They
good
do,
problem.
but give it a go. Here's
I'll give
another
it a
exercise
go.
that I'll do. Give it a go. Here's another exercise I do, and it's inside this Cosmic Journey Oracle cards. Is I have these different archetypes, and so when things, and I found this in business was this. I love questions because your questions create your answers, right?
Oh,
And the more
yes.
magical and bigger and better the question is. So I had this question of what would my 111-year-old self tell me? And it was when things were kind of going sideways in my business and things weren't working out. And it was okay. So then using my left hand, the answer was light 1,000 suns who can each light another 1,000 suns. And it was just like this magical response that I never would have had any other way. But then, so now I'll come back to that same archetype and I'll have a Q&A. I'll use my right hand for the questions and the left hand for the answers once I've sort of brought in that archetype. And then I'll go back and forth on the page. And so you can do this with characters. You can do this with like, okay, what does my book need next? Or whatever question is sort of weighing on you at the moment of what's going on. Like use that. So it doesn't have to be an entire page with your left hand or non-dominant hand.
Okay.
Yannick, I think we all appreciate seeing how imaginative you are about this. Is that sometimes people can start talking about writing as a grind or it's hard work, and it's your playfulness, the joy that you bring to it. It's just so inspiring, and so we always honor our time. So one last question for you is that. Meister Eckhart said, if the only prayer you ever said was thank you, that would be enough. And we like to not just say thank you, we like to show our thank you. So is there something coming up for you that we can support, whether it's not just reviewing a book or recommending that they do a virtual book club with you or sharing your post or something you're excited about coming up, and we can show our thanks to you by supporting it.
Oh, I appreciate that. Actually, for Antarctica. We have a fun penguin polar plunge, and I'll put the link in there, which is we're raising that for marine preserve areas, which are how do we essentially preserve sections of the ocean so that it can help regenerate and provide just growth there and support and protection. So that's the link to that, and you get to see me jump into the super icy cold waters of the Antarctic, and we'll send videos and pictures, I'm sure, to all the people that donate there. So that one's really fun. And then of course, we've been having people give away the Cosmic Journals as a cool gift to other people, or the cards, and those are incredibly fun, and everyone really enjoys that and appreciates that. So that would be the other one.
Okay, now Yanik, I know you have a picture of you and Sir Richard Branson in like can outfits or something like that. So are we going to see pictures of you in your green Speedo going into the Antarctica Ocean?
There could be green Speedos for a lot of people, yes.
Green
We'll
Speedos.
see. I haven't been working out as much. I don't know if this is going to be a great sight or not. Or it could be a penguin onesie. Who knows? I'm sure we'll figure out something interesting. Yeah, yeah. We like the interesting random photos for sure.
I'm,
Well,
I'm
you
voting for the penguin onesie.
you could get in the mode of the green Speedo in the Antarctica by just going into the Potomac River today. It's not even above freezing.
That's right. I've been practicing with cold showers, but I don't think that's gonna do it. Um,
So, well, what we'll be doing is we're going to be putting your information about your books and about your different ventures and so forth in our Facebook group so that people can find out more about you and continue to stay in touch with you. And we're just so grateful that you shared your insights with us and many, many takeaways, in particular, the imagination and the joy and the passion that you bring to this and to set it in motion, establish momentum, and then iterate along the way. Thank you, Yanik Silver.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks so much.
Everyone, unmute yourself. Give some shout outs if you would, please.
Thank you, Yanik. This is great.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Yanik.
And be sure and join us on February 15th. We are going to be doing our book club on Will Smith's autobiography. And boy, if you have not listened to it yet or heard it yet, I agree with Oprah. It's the best memoir I've ever heard or read, in particular, because he doesn't just tell a story, he reenacts the story. He puts you in the scene, makes it come alive in your mind's eye. So whether you read the book or whether you listen to it, be thinking about your own writing. How can you tell your stories so they're your audience stories? How can you make them come alive so people feel as if it's happening right now and your book becomes a page turner or your presentation, people are on the edge of your seats. So see February 15th at 7:30 Eastern, and can't wait to hear your insights about Will's memoir. And once again, another shout out to Yanik Silver, and check out his work. He really is a thought leader who is doing good in the world and having fun while doing it. Bye for now.
Thank you again.